ambulance for a medical at 170 Swindra Boulevard Northeast for a 22-year-old with major head trauma, blood loss, not alert.
A young woman is dead after police say her coworker walked over to her workstation and hit her multiple times with a sledgehammer. She died on the floor of the manufacturing plant, and deputies immediately took the suspect into custody. And the reason he apparently gave police for hitting the 20-year-old over and over and over again with such a terrifying weapon is chilling. Plus, in a stunning twist, a man claiming to be a family member of the suspect took to Facebook Live to talk about what happened. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Look, as we're covering stories like this, let me just say, staying on top of the news is so important, but with all the media bias these days, who knows what to believe, right? So I want to introduce you to our sponsor, Straight Hour News, okay? Straight Hour News is a personalized news platform that gives readers fact-based journalism to inform and build trust. Its media mist tool, it shows readers headlines that are not seen in mainstream outlets. It provides useful commentary that cuts through all of that sensational spin. Their site and app also points out bias with their media landscape tool to group sources by political leaning for full transparency. So if you're ready for a better way to get the news, go to san.com/sidebar or just click the link in my description. This is Straight Hour News. Skip the drama, get the facts. Welcome back to trustworthy journalism. The community of Cokato, Minnesota and the surrounding areas was rocked last week when news started to spread that there had been a workplace attack at a manufacturing plant. It was early in the day on November 11th, just after 6 a.m., when first responders were dispatched for advanced process technologies, and this is in Cokato, a small city east of Minneapolis. 20-year-old Amber Check had been hit over the head with a sledgehammer and was in dire need of help.
Major head trauma, blood loss, blow to the head, possibly unwitnessed, is not alert but is breathing.
So as emergency crews rushed to the scene, dispatchers were queuing up life flight to head to the factory. But then they soon got word that, unfortunately, they wouldn't be needed.
Cokato Fire, we do have LifeLink en route. If they are needed, their ETA is going to be about 25 minutes at this point. If you could find a possible landing zone for them, STAC 1 will be the channel.
10-4, thank you. Cokato Fire, right now.
Cokato Fire.
You can show driving on scene.
On scene at 6:15.
Cokato Rescue, right, copy.
Cokato Rescue, go ahead.
You can cancel there, here.
Copy, we are. 6:16.
Grass 11, you guys can cancel.
Cokato Fire, right, copy. Go ahead, Cokato. You can show us clear of the scene back in front. Clear, 621.
Now, according to a news release from the Wright County Sheriff's Office, it reads, quote, around 6 a.m. Tuesday, November 11th, the Wright County Sheriff's Office responded to a 911 call from Advanced Process Technologies in the city of Cokato regarding an adult female being found at her workstation with significant head trauma. Deputies arrived on scene along with Cokato ambulance and attempted life-saving measures. However, the adult female was pronounced deceased at the scene. The initial investigation indicated that the adult female's death was due to an assault by an adult male coworker with a blunt force object. The adult male coworker, identified as David Bruce DeLong, was taken into custody on scene without incident by deputies. So I want to dig into what a criminal complaint claims happened that day, and also what the suspect also allegedly said to police after his arrest about this heinous series of purported actions. So to do that, I want to welcome on trial attorney and former prosecutor Bridget Williams. Bridget, thank you so much for taking the time. We cover horrendous, violent crimes all the time. There's something about this. If the allegations are true, taking a sledgehammer as a weapon. Have you seen something like that before? This is not a knife. This is not a gun. This is a very specific instrument to be used. And by the way, the weight of that, it's an object that not everyone could use. So if we're also talking about, and we'll get into what the evidence is, if this was a whodunit, it does kind of limit the field about who would be able to operate something like that, right?
That's a great point. In addition to what you just said, that's not something that we see all the time. This is once every couple of, blue moon that we hear a case of this matter like this. And so something like this going on, it already has all the elements of a intentional murder. We have malice aforethought. He intentionally did this. He premeditated it. He went to pick up this huge sledgehammer, and slammed this woman against the head with it. So it has all of the components of a premeditated murder.
And let's get into this a little bit more, and I want to start with the victim, okay? We have 20-year-old Amber Check. She had gotten into welding while she was in high school. This is what her father told KARE 11. She attended Alexandria Technical and Community College, graduated in the spring of 2024 after completing the 10-month welding technology program. And after learning of her death, ATCC put out a statement saying, in part, quote, "She exemplified the qualities we strive to instill in all our students: hard work, determination, and professionalism." So obviously you're talking about a tremendous loss. But now I want to get into the law. County Attorney Brian Lutz shared the criminal complaint that was filed with the court in a news release, and it lays out what surveillance video from inside the plant reportedly showed, and the violence allegedly committed by DeLong. Quote, "The video surveillance shows the defendant leaving his workstation and walking to the victim's workstation. The defendant is wearing gloves when this occurs. The defendant is observed grabbing a sledgehammer from the victim's workstation. The video shows the defendant swinging the sledgehammer at the victim, who is out of the view of the camera. The defendant's first swing of the sledgehammer is in a horizontal movement consistent with the victim standing." And Lutz told People magazine, quote, "They actually pass by each other, but it doesn't even appear that they address or engage each other at all. The first swing is horizontal, and I look at that to mean she's standing upright at that time. And then he makes 4 more swings, and they're very aggressive, violent, forceful swings." The complaint then says that DeLong walked by another male co-worker and said something along the lines of, quote, "I hit her with your hammer. She is by your toolbox. She is gone." Bridget, it's not every day I can say that we have a purported crime, a violent attack, a potential murder here caught on surveillance footage. I don't know what a defense attorney would do, how they would try to get that footage out. If the footage comes in where they say, well, you can't really see, the victim, she's blocked. We don't, but because if you have that on tape, where do you go with it? That's the end of the case, no?
There's so much there, Jesse. I don't see why that video would not come into evidence. That is something that would 110% go into evidence. We have so many components here. So you have, again, the video, you have his statement to this other coworker. There's just so many things that point to this defendant. I don't even know if this should be a trial case. And so it could be something that a defense counsel would try to work out with the state to try to avoid the victim's family going through a trial and talking with them about just who she is and having them just listening and go through all of the details about it. And also having a jury to determine what the sentencing is. They can maybe have some more control over what the sentencing would be. If it is a trial case, that video more than likely, I'm going to say probably 99% is going to come into evidence.
Unless there's a mischaracterization of what the video shows, which we don't have any indication to say that's the case. But, look, we don't know what DeLong's demeanor was at that moment, but you couple that surveillance footage, Bridget, with also that alleged cold statement that he makes to the coworker. That's shocking. And I imagine that coworker would testify.
110%. I mean, that coworker was just there minding his business. He didn't ask him any questions. He made a statement to the coworker outright. So I couldn't imagine the coworker not testifying at all either.
Now, I mean, would it be hearsay what the defendant allegedly told him?
Well, I don't think that would necessarily be hearsay. It's a statement made by the defendant. He's there. He's in court. And so I don't think that makes it to hearsay. And so when we talk about what that would be in a trial setting, I mean, he gives a statement there. I don't think that would make it to hearsay.
By the way, in his interview with People, Lutz said that it appears that this employee went to go see what DeLong was talking about. And that's when this worker saw Check on the floor with the bloody sledgehammer next to her body. That's when 911 was called. And the criminal complaint says that DeLong confessed after his arrest. That's the new allegation. Quote, the defendant admitted to not liking the victim. The defendant said he has been planning to kill the victim for some time. And Lutz told People he mentioned in his statement that she had kind of given him a bad look and that he was upset about that. Apparently the bad look was some time ago and he just didn't like her. It's a logical type behavior. Now here's the part that's interesting. I mean, if it was from a law school example, you could say that you can't get more first-degree premeditated murder than this. Now, here's the thing. DeLong was initially charged with second-degree murder with intent but not premeditated. And Lutz said in a statement, I will evaluate this case for a possible charge of first-degree premeditated murder, which requires convening a grand jury. Bridget, I thought that was surprising. Why not immediately charge first?
It was surprising to me as well that that wasn't the outright charge from the beginning. Because again, this gives, like you said, this is a law school example of premeditated murder. It gives all of the factors of what would be in a classic criminal case in a criminal law school. And so I don't understand why they didn't have that from the beginning unless they were just trying to make sure they had something first and then they amended it as they went. But that is surprising.
Bridget, I gotta say, as I'm listening to this, and if these allegations are true, how callous this attack was, the statements that were purportedly made afterwards, is the only logical explanation, not logical, but is the only avenue for a defense attorney to explore if this evidence is gonna come in, is to suggest some sort of mental health defense. But then I'm torn because there seems to be an understanding, taking it all as true, there seems to be an understanding on the part of DeLong about what he did or allegedly did.
I think even mental health defense is going to be a stretch here because, again, when we talk about premeditated, he was planning to do this all along. So that tells us right there that's not necessarily a mental health issue. He's been planning, he intentionally meant to do this entire time to this young lady after he said that he didn't like her. So now we have a reason why. Not necessarily that he has to have a reason in order for to fit the elements, but he's been planning this all along. So I don't think that even a mental health defense would be helpful here.
Well, I will tell you this. This is unexpected, what I'm about to get into. In an unexpected twist, a man claiming to be a family member of the defendants of DeLong's, Robert DeLong, went live on Facebook after this alleged murder to talk about what happened. Watch.
My family got rocked with some news. We got rocked with some really, really harsh news. Although it actually wasn't surprising. None of us were really surprised. Who really know the person? We were not surprised at all. In fact, this person hadn't even been around the family for the past 3 years. We found out that he murdered somebody. Premeditated. Murdered somebody. If that doesn't shed a little light on picking and choosing a path very carefully, because with what a lot of people go through, they can just be one choice away from that direction. I thought it would hit me more, but as I said, like, it didn't really surprise us. What this mother did was up. But it's also indicative of how gone he has become.
Now, Robert DeLong also posted a statement to his Facebook page saying, quote, on November 11th, 2025, Amber Check was brutally murdered at work by David Bruce DeLong. Our family had cut contact with him years ago due to concerns for safety, concerns that tragically proved justified. We are heartbroken for Amber's family and focused on supporting them through their grief. We ask for privacy as we honor Amber and navigate this pain. No further comment at this time. Now, Bridget, again, assuming there is a family connection here, assuming this is real, what do you make of those statements?
They are some pretty intense statements. And if I was a prosecutor in this case, I would be trying to bring in that family member to testify in court. But if I'm defense counsel, then I'm going to try to keep that statement out and any statements made by the family members as what we call previous bad acts or previous bad behaviors or anything of that nature. So we're going to try to keep those statements out. But if the prosecution, they're good at their job, they're more than likely going to be reaching out to him to try to testify in a trial setting if this case does move forward to trial, to talk about why did they cut ties with him in the first place? What was it that he's referring to say that he was not a safe person? Why did they just stop talking to him altogether? And let a jury know exactly what was going on and that he's always been this maybe unhinged person. And so that would be something that as a prosecutor, I would be trying to submit into evidence.
Legally, though, this is interesting because let's be clear. There is nothing from that statement or a series of statements that indicate they had any warning that he was going to do something to Amber Check, okay? Let's be clear.
Of course not.
But,
right.
but if there is a concern from family or friends that someone's a danger, if there is a concern that they may do something like this, and I'm not saying that they had any idea that he was about to commit a murder, let's be clear about that. But if there was something that was alerting them, there's limited in what they can actually do, right? You can't call the police and say, hey, we got a family member who's dangerous. Can he be patrolled 24/7? I mean, that they need something real. They need something specific in order to alert police. There's just not resources out there to monitor somebody like this, right? And what also, how can you predict what somebody's going to do?
You can't predict what someone's going to do. And honestly, it's not their job to monitor him 24/7. What they did do as a family is, and what, according to this family member who posted on Facebook, is that they cut ties with him altogether. And we don't know what conversations they may have had prior to this. Maybe they recommended some type of mental health, just treatment for him or whatever it is that they may have talked with him about. We have no idea what that is about. All we can go off of is what the family member has actually said to I guess on his Facebook page. And again, that would be those statements that he did talk about. That would be something that a prosecution would try to just bring in to talk about previous bad acts.
Yeah. And this is a really, really, aside from a disturbing case, it's tragic. And you think about the loss here. You have a GoFundMe that was set up for Amber's family to help cover the funeral costs. This is the new reality that they're dealing with. And as of Monday morning, more than $50,000 has been raised, which is incredible. The GoFundMe description had this to say about Amber: "We are heartbroken to share the loss of our beloved Amber Check. She was taken from us far too soon at just 20 years young as a result of workplace violence. Amber was a hard-working welder who took great pride in her craft and dreamed of building a bright future through her work. Her witty personality, positive attitude, and beautiful smile touched everyone who knew her." Now, Bridget, how do families navigate something like this?
My next thought immediately goes to a civil lawsuit against the company. So the family could have what we call a wrongful death case against the company. So they have the criminal case against the individual, and then they also could bring forth a civil case against the company for different various actions, cause of action. And that could be negligent hiring. Did they do a thorough background check on this individual to determine if he was competent enough to handle this particular position? Did they follow all the safety protocols that should have been put in place there in order to make sure that it is a safe space for everyone? There's a multitude of causes of action that a civil litigator could move forward with for this family.
Yeah, look, workplace violence is a real thing. And this is just one that stands out for all the wrong reasons. DeLong being held in the Wright County Jail on a $5 million bail or $2 million with release conditions, according to news outlet KNSI. So that would include surrendering his passport, any guns, having no contact with the Check family. So far, he remains behind bars. He's expected back on court November 24th, but we'll also see if his charge is upgraded to first-degree murder. We shall wait and see. Bridget Williams, thank you so much for taking the time. It was good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.